a little bit, just a little bit, because there's something really interesting that I wanted to talk to you guys about. As you guys know, I, well, you may not know. Let me just say it this way. One of the main things that I try to do, whether it is on YouTube, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's in person or whatever, is to educate people. No, I'm not going to give you a big old educational thing, okay? Y'all, I'm gonna piss some people off. So let me go to subscriber chat only, because I'm about to make some people angry. Because one of the things that I've noticed in being on TikTok a lot is that it seems like it's okay for certain people to bully other people. I get tagged in all the videos. I get tagged in all the videos where people have been bullied because they're pagan, where their kids have been bullied because they're pagan. Y'all, I'm done with that. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Do you guys even know where the term pagan came from? Do you know where the term pagan came from? It's a Christian term. And guess what? Not only is it a Christian term, it's a slang term. It's a bad term. It was a term that was created in the 4th century, to denote the people that were not Christian. And it was derogatory. It meant you were a gentile, that you were a heathen, that you were not civilized because you did not believe in Jesus. You did not follow Judaism. It was a way for them to separate and put the Christians up on pedestals, while those that practiced their cultural beliefs, those that practiced the beliefs of their ancestors, the beliefs of the land, the beliefs that they had grown up with, were looked down on. They were called all kinds of names. But pagan was the bad, bad word. If you were pagan, if you were a gentile, if you were a heathen, you were not worthy. You were not worthy. What's even funnier about it, what makes me even more, it just makes me giggle. It just makes me giggle. The term itself came from the same council of people, well, not people, the same council of men who wrote the Bible. And all of this is Googleable. You can Google all of it. You can Google all of it. Now we take pagan as, we've taken it and made it our own. But the problem is, even though pagan is used to talk about a way of believing, and I put it in that air quotes, it's still a derogatory term. It's still used in a derogatory way, even though pagans have taken it and owned it. And we call ourselves pagans. Most Christians don't even know what pagans believe in. Did you know that for a while after the Middle Ages, anyone that wasn't Christian, anyone, this didn't matter if you were a Muslim, you were Buddhist, if you, anything, if you were not Christian, you were pagan. You were bad. You were listed on the no side. No. Paganism is still like the F word, the horrible, horrible word on a lot of Christians' tongues. And I don't understand why. I do, but I don't. Does that make sense? I do, but I don't. People that were labeled as pagans had their gods that their ancestors had worshipped for centuries, called false deities, false gods. They were wrong. In the Bible, it even says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me," from a God that just magically appeared out of nowhere. In fact, the Bible itself wasn't even written until almost 400 years after Jesus had passed away by a council of wealthy men. They picked and chose what went in the Bible. Do you know that there are over 40 versions of the Bible in the world? Do you know that the Bibles that are here in the US don't have nearly as many books in them as you think they do? This isn't all the books of the Bible, y'all. Did you guys know that the Ethiopian Bible has the most books out of any version of the Bible? It is the closest to the original Bible that was put together. So much has been taken out of the Bible, has been changed, lost, thrown away, burnt, so it can control the narrative. So I find it very interesting that Christianity is coming out with this humongous, oh, let's defeat paganism propaganda again. Because pagans are on the rise. Paganism itself is on the rise. I don't care if you are practicing a Norse path, a heathen path, if you are practicing Satanism, if you are practicing witchcraft, if you are Wiccan, if you are a Druid, if you are just getting back to your culture, your culture, your ancestral practices. Christianity has labeled it as wrong, as incorrect, as a way to control the masses. Because what better way to control the masses than with fear? It's better to be feared than loved, y'all. Because when you're feared, people are afraid of what you're going to do to them. You're afraid of going to hell. Pagans are not afraid of going to hell. You know why? Because almost every form of paganism believes in reincarnation. We believe that you come back. Now, you may come back as something really shitty if you were a shitty person. But we believe in reincarnation. Well, what if reincarnation is taken away from you? You have this one time, you better be good, or daddy's going to spank your butt and send you to the bad place. So then you worry about that. I find that all to be bullshit. Do you guys know that pagans believe in natural cycles? Do you guys know that those that are pagans believe in growth, in spiritual growth? They believe that human beings are a part of nature, just like animals, just like trees, just like stones, just like grass, just like the sky. They believe that the earth is one big thing, that what you do affects everybody else. What everybody else does affects you. We all affect each other. We don't see death as an ending. We see it as a transition. We see it as a new beginning. What's interesting is that there are a lot of new movements as far as paganism goes. I, for one, have absolutely adored the rise of paganism and witch talk on TikTok. I have been doing what I've been doing for a very long time. I've been doing it professionally, like for a living, since 2014. I grew up learning a crazy mix of eclectic things. I didn't grow up going to church. I'm lucky in that I don't have the religious trauma that has to be unprogrammed from me. I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around being so terrified of a preacher, of a church, of a pastor, of God, that I might have my whole soul damned and never to come out of that. I believe that if I do bad shit, I'm going to have bad shit happen. I believe that if I do bad shit in this life, then I may come back as a fucking roach. I don't believe I'm going to hell. What I find really funny too is that modern pagan traditions today incorporate all these beliefs, all these practices, nature worship, animism, etc., just like ancestors practiced. No matter where you come from in the world, you can trace your ancestral line before Christianity. You know where your ancestors came from. Nobody's ancestors started off Christian and have been Christian the whole time. They didn't. I also find it very interesting that all of these other religions, beliefs, etc., that have a hierarchy of gods, just like Christianity does. Well, they may have gods that are kind of a dick, such as Zeus or Odin. Yeah, I said it. They're not as big of a dick as God is. Think about it. Think about it. Here's the other thing that cracks me up. When people find their pagan beliefs, when they find their pagan path, and they start working with deities and gods and goddesses of their ancestors, and they start seeing things change in their life for the better. And they start seeing the things that they've asked for, the things that they've manifested happen, whereas they may have prayed for decades for something and never got an answer. What kind of God is that? It's one that controls by fear. You better pray or I might get you. You better pray. And even though I may not answer you, I'm going to get you. You better pray or you're going to hell. None of the other deities and gods demand that kind of shit. They may demand you do things. They may have demanded sacrifices. They have demanded all kinds of things throughout time, but it was never because you're going to hell. A lot of the modern world is starting to wake up. This is something that I saw with COVID. Before COVID, I did have a big girl job. I also did this on the side full time. I had 2 full-time jobs. I love what I do. I would not trade what I do for anything. I have been threatened to be burnt at the stake. I'm going to hell. I've heard all of it. With COVID, though, COVID shifted things in such a way that Christianity couldn't keep a hold on it. Whereas before, Christianity has had an easier way to manipulate the masses. Because think about it, during the Black Plague, they had an easy way to manipulate the masses through the local church, the local diocese. They could control the narrative. Now, with the rise of TikTok, with the rise of social media, the rise of Instagram, Facebook, etc., where things are put out like this, people are starting to question. People are starting to question what type of God would allow something like COVID to decimate areas? What type of God would allow all the shit that's happened? So now you have people that are waking up and they're seeing that this matrix they've lived in, and that's the best word for it, this matrix that they've lived in has been controlled by such a small group of people, of rich men generally, that want to keep the masses in fear. During COVID, I cannot tell you how many people I had come to me during the shutdown, especially on social media, in messages, etc., asking for help because they felt like they were now crazy because they just couldn't believe in God anymore. They had completely lost their faith. And no, I am not that person that said, well, it's about time. It's Christianity is stupid, blah, blah, blah. I'm not that person because I grew up in a weird American folk magic / Southern Baptist / Celtic / Native American. Like, I grew up weird, y'all. And I think that that right there gave me everything I needed to be able to help those people and help every single person that I have helped since. deprogramming the trauma that happens when you grow up in such a hardcore religious way is horrible. And I hate that a lot of you guys have had to deal with that. I love that you guys are waking up and you're finding your path. One of the other things that amazes me is during COVID, everybody suddenly realized I might die one day. I might die one day. What's going to happen? The other thing that I found interesting is the vast majority of them weren't worried about going to hell. They weren't worried about going to heaven. They just wanted to know what happened when they died. I have worked with a lot of terminally ill patients, clients, friends. Y'all, digging yourself out of Christianity is hard, especially when you have been raised in a very hardcore way in the church. It's hard. However, if it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't resonate with you. I did see people asking about ancestors and asking about how they learn about their ancestors and so on. DNA tests are fantastic. Wait for one of them to go on sale and do one. The thing about ancestry is it will shift and change over time as more people do it and so on, but it will populate your whole family tree for you. You'll get to see these people. If there are pictures, if there are written things, you'll get to see ancestors. 23andMe is a little better because it's actually, your specific DNA, the number, this percentage, that percentage. But I'll tell you what, I love when people say, I don't know my ancestors. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Unless you were adopted and you never ever knew your birth family, which happens. And I'm so sorry that you guys have that. You knew your grandma, you knew your grandpa, you knew an aunt, you knew an uncle, you knew your parents. Those are ancestors. All those things that you have in your house, all the pictures of people that have passed away, you have their clothes, you have trinkets, you have jewelry, you have items. You cook their favorite things at the holidays. That's ancestor worship. That's ancestor worship, y'all. Did you know that every single culture has ancestor worship in it? Every single culture. You honor the ancestors. They help you, they guide you. And if you guys didn't catch last night on the Bodhiverse, when I was talking to Karin from Rune Guidance of the Norse, that's one of the things that she was speaking about that we talked about for a few minutes, about honoring the ancestors, how they're proving that it's in your DNA. Even if you weren't raised with the practices of your ancestors, chances are when you start finding your path again and you get back to doing those things, you're going to start doing the things your ancestors did, even though you were never taught them, because it's in your DNA. It doesn't matter where your ancestors come from, y'all. You guys have a family practice. You have a culture you belong to. It doesn't have to be being feared because you're not Christian. It doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be. For the longest time, and I know all of you will understand this, for the longest time I had to kind of pretend that things were hunky-dory, not that I went to church, but that I believed in God. I live in Oklahoma. I live in the Bible Belt. Now, here's what's funny about this, and y'all are going to crack your asses up. You ready? So, when I was in college, I was actually drafted out of high school to work for a large publishing company in Tulsa, one of the larger Christian publishing companies in North America. In my office and editorial, I had 32 different copies of the Bible. So I had to go through when the writers would turn their manuscripts in, and I had to make sure that the scriptures matched exactly which version of the Bible they were using. So, you want to talk about being a closet witch? There you go. But what I found so interesting about it, as I'm reading these manuscripts and editing them and so on, most of these people regurgitated the same information out of the Bible over and over and over and over and over. They just regurgitated shit to make people fear moving forward. You better ask God before you do that. You better ask God before this. You better ask God for this. You better ask God for this. Why? I cannot get behind the belief that there is a man that sits up in the clouds that is watching every single fucking thing I do. Especially when you can pray and you can talk to this God and nothing happens. Yet you can talk to your ancestors. You can talk to the deities and the gods and goddesses that your ancestors worshipped. You can talk to the universe, and things change. Things change. So I find it so funny when I get tagged in some of these videos with some of these preachers that we're going to out you witches. Your own Christian kings came to us witches for information, came to us witches for healing, to save their children, save themselves, to curse others. I find it very interesting that some of these same Christians that are belittling people that are pagan, they use the term pagan in the way it was used in the 4th century AD as a derogatory term. I say that we take that term, that slang term, back. They can't have it anymore. It's ours. It's ours. Y'all, don't fear a religion that is based on fear, that's based on a book that was written by several rich men sitting in a little room around the table determining what was okay and what was not okay. Can they make fun of you? Yep. Can they cause problems for you in a Christian town? Possibly. Don't fear their bullshit. Thank you, sweetie. Don't fear their bullshit because that's what it is. It's propaganda at its finest. If you guys look back through history and look at the Crusades, you look at other wars that Christian leaders have waged on other cultures. It's sad. It's sad. Do you know that during the Crusades throughout the Middle East and so on, there were so many temples that were burned to the ground? There were so many ancient scrolls, messages, writings, ways of life, practices that were obliterated. Obliterated. Why? You came to another land and you obliterated a religion. You obliterated a people. So you obliterated all of these amazing things that you had no business obliterating. Nothing. I find it really sad. I find it really sad. And as we find more and more different historical and archaeological sites, we find more and more writings, and we find more and more of the Dead Sea Scrolls and things like that. It's even more interesting how the Christians are silent about those things. It's the pagans that are excited because we know that a lot of these things are going to be shown that this is exactly, oh, thank you, love. This is exactly what we already knew. It makes me really sad. I mean, it makes me even more sad that there are people that are getting bullied relentlessly on TikTok, especially because of it. Now, I'm sure the bullying is on both sides. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Because I see a lot of younger pagans that, you know, they have all the balls and none of the things to back it up, go into other people's lives and just troll and say mean things and shit like that. But the vast majority, 99% of the pagans on TikTok, and I'm speaking about TikTok in particular, 99% of the pagans on TikTok, we don't do that. We don't do that. You know why? Because we don't talk hate. We don't preach the same hatred y'all preach. We don't sit and tell all of our followers to go do this and go do that and be mean and do this. And we don't do that. We don't tell a whole big group of people, we're going to out you if you're different than us. We're going to release your address. We're going to release the names of your kids because you're not Christian. We don't do that. You know why? Because that's not being a good person. It's being a douchebag. Pagans believe in being kind. Pagans believe in the earth as a whole. What I do affects everybody else and vice versa. We're all connected. In fact, going into pagan lives, they're more accepting and loving and fun to be around than any of the Christians. Okay, not any, but most of them. You know what I'm talking about. Their golden rule is bunk. Their golden rule is to keep them in line while their leaders do whatever the fuck they want. Y'all stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for what you believe in. One of the things that I would like to implement, and I would like y'all's help with this, we need to band together. I think that it's bullshit that Christianity is protected in the United States above everything else. Paganism is not technically a religion, it's a belief system. Wicca is classified as a religion, witchcraft is not. So therefore, we don't have the same protections for our religious beliefs. We need to be on the same page. We need to be protecting each other. We need to be standing up for each other. And unfortunately, a lot of the pagan representation that I've seen, not so much on TikTok, but outside in the outside world. Y'all, I don't want that representing me. I'm sorry. There's a reason, unfortunately, of the stereotypical view of the pagan that a lot of people have. Because those of us that have to be an adult and have to live in some of these places have been afraid to speak up. I haven't been afraid in a few years, and I'm not afraid now. And I'm going to continue to speak up, and I'm going to continue to push back, and I'm going to continue to fight against all of this bullshit. I want you guys' help with that. I want you guys' help with that. It's on like Donkey Kong. I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm done with being looked down on because of my beliefs, even though my beliefs are 2 to 3 times as old as your book. I'm tired of being looked down on my beliefs, that I'm lesser than because I don't believe in God. I'm tired of it. I know y'all are tired of it. We're going to do something about it. Okay? We're going to do something about it. So, take that derogatory slang term and let's make it something that's to be loved. I would much rather be loved than feared. Being feared isn't all it's cracked up to be. And if I have to be feared, at least I am feared as one of those things that causes all the bumps in the night. I am the monster in the dark that little kids worry about. This is what it is, right? So, that being said, my computer's locking up. Storms are heading this way, getting closer and closer. They're about to hit here. So I can hear some thunder rolling this way. I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to close out YouTube and I'm going to close out TikTok here in a minute. And I want you guys to stand up for your beliefs. I want you guys to stand up for those around you that have the same beliefs that you have. You guys are way stronger than you think you are. I know you're stronger. Because guess what? All of those Christians around you, while they may be strong, they have a choke collar on them. They have a choke collar on them. They've been neutered and they don't even know it. So, I don't want you guys to sneak to their level. I don't want you guys to threaten. I don't want you guys to troll. I don't want you guys to do any of that. We're going to show them the amount of pagans that are all around them. We're going to show them how our pagan beliefs is what their very core of their Christianity is based on. And I can't wait. So with that, I'm going to end YouTube over here. If you guys want to go back and listen to it, you're more than welcome to.